Guys, how are we doing tonight? How are we feeling, High Street Youth? Good. Guys, I'm excited to be up here for a couple reasons. First of all, I just love to be up here all the time. I heard that, and thank you. These are my Barney shoes, I think is what Emma calls them, or what do you call them? Larry Boy shoes. Yeah, so they get to come out every now and then. But anyway, guys, I'm excited to be up here because I love speaking, but also because we're kicking off a new series that we're going to be in for the next 5 Wednesdays, okay? Counting this one, so 4 more. And tonight is the first one. And here's the series we're going through. It's very simple. This series is just called One Another. One Another. And you're like, that doesn't make sense as a series. That title doesn't make sense. Hear me out. Here's what One Another means. We're going to look at some of the most popular, some of the most important, some of the most influential teachings and commands in the Bible that you are to do to another or not to do to another. So a teaching that's like, hey, you should go and do this to another person, to a fellow Christian, to a non-believer, fill in the blank. Or, hey, you should not go do this to another person. We're going to study 5 of the most important ones. And tonight we're kicking that series off. And so we were sitting there kind of thinking like, hey, which ones do we want to look at? Because there's a lot more than 5 in the Bible. We were like, which 5 one another statements should we focus on? And so we were sitting there talking, and I'm the one, I believe, that said, hey, we should do this one. We should do this one, the one that I'm about to speak on. And I was like, man, I think that would be a really kind of just a slam dunk, easy, it makes sense. It would be a good intro. And they were like, cool, you do it then. And I was like, awesome. And so I started studying this one and I went, oh my gosh, this was not as easy as I thought it was. Hear me out. Here's our first topic of the series, what we're going to get into tonight. It is that we should greet one another. We find a command multiple times throughout text. Hey, you should greet one another. And I was like, that kind of makes sense to be like the opener to this series. You know, greeting is usually one of the first things that you do when you see someone. Maybe we should make it our first lesson. So it fell to me. And as I started studying it and started seeing what text had to say about the idea of greeting one another, I went, oh man, this is not going to be straightforward. This is not going to be an easy dunk. There's a little bit more here. And here's why I say that. Let's look at 3 verses that speak to greeting one another. First one's this, 1 Peter 5:14. Greet each other with a kiss of love. Peace be with all of you who are in Christ. I said, I don't want to stand up there and tell these kids to start kissing each other. I'm going to get in trouble real fast. I'd like to keep my job. So let's find what else the Bible has to say about greeting each other. And then I found 1 Corinthians 16, verse 20. It says, all the brothers and sisters here send greetings to you. Greet each other with a sacred kiss. Watch out for Nathan, guys. Greet each other with a sacred kiss. That's number 2. And I was like, there's got to be something else that speaks to the idea of greeting one another. What else is there? And I kept studying and I found 1 Thessalonians 5:26, and it said, greet all the brothers and sisters with a sacred kiss. And I said, is there anything else that speaks to greeting one another? No. Biblical text commands multiple times to greet one another. Specifically, it talks about greeting fellow Christians, but then there are others that speak to just greeting anyone with a sacred kiss, with a holy kiss, with a kiss of love. And I said, man, how in the world am I going to stand up here and tell them, hey, did you know that your Bible tells you to go greet people with a kiss? Because I know what's going to happen if you run out of here and start practicing that. I'm going to get calls from your parents that say, hey, did you know that my kid got detention or expelled or fill in the blank? Yeah, they just started running through the halls kissing everybody. And you see where this is a problem, right? And so I was like, what do we do with that? If it's a command multiple times throughout text, it's repeated. When we see repetition, that means it's more and more important. And this is only 3. There are even more callings, verses that say, hey, you should greet each other with a kiss. And I was like, it's important because it's there and it matters. What do we do with it? If we have that command, what do we do with it? How do I apply it to my life in a way that I'm not going to lose my job and you guys aren't going to get kicked out of school? What do we do with this? And so I started studying a little bit into why is that the command? See, because we see the command from Peter and Paul, and they're in letters to other believers, other Christians, other churches, and there's this reminder, hey, make sure greet one another with a kiss. And I was like, why are they saying that? And as I studied into it, what I began to find was that a kiss was just the common greeting of the day already. So it wasn't like, hey, brand new idea, let's just start kissing people. That's not what it was. It was, hey, we're already greeting each other with a kiss on the cheek, nothing crazy. Just a kiss on the cheek to say, hey, I see that you're there. Hey, I want to say hi. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Welcome. That kind of thing. They're already doing that. I don't think that the emphasis, as I began to study on it, was on the kissing part. And I know that sounds weird, but here it is. Let me read the 3 again that I pulled out. It was greet each other with a kiss of love. And then it's greet each other with a sacred kiss. And again, it says greet all the brothers and sisters with a sacred kiss. Other translations translate it as a holy kiss. I don't think the word kiss is what Peter and Paul want us to pull out of that. I think what Peter and Paul want us to pull out of that is how they're describing the kiss. See, because the kiss is just the way that they're greeting each other. And that's already set. That's already what people do. Let me tell you, the people in Springfield don't greet each other with a kiss, all right? Y'all walk into Walmart and find 5 people you want to kiss, and we're going to have a conversation, okay? That's not normal. But what is normal is you guys start heading in this building, and we give each other fist bumps. We give each other a high five. We give each other a handshake. We give each other a hug, okay? Take kiss out and put whatever your favorite greeting is in, and then read this again. Greet each other with a fist bump of love. What? Greet each other with a fist bump of love. With a yo of love. Greet each other with a sacred hug. Greet each other with a high five of holiness. Like, this is what Paul and Peter are trying to point out to us. Here's what they're saying. They're saying, hey, you guys already kiss each other on the cheek as a common greeting. That's something everyone already does. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take the greeting that is already commonplace in your culture, and I want you to use it for God. I want you to use it in a way that people will see God through you. And so when you walk up to somebody on the street and they say, hey to you, don't just give them a quick and walk away and not ask what their name is and talk. You got to get their name before you kiss them, right? No, they're just kidding. But seriously, the emphasis is on, hey, this is how you greet already. How can you show people who Christ is through this greeting? So take the word kiss out and toss whatever your favorite greeting is, okay? Now that's what the text is saying to us in modern day. Hey, make sure that when you go greet someone, when you see someone, you make them feel loved. You make them feel welcomed. That it's not just a greeting of, sup, bro, and walking off. It's like you guys all have walked into a room that made you feel unwanted and unwelcomed. And if you think you haven't, you have, because it just happened to me a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awkward. Here's what happened. Y'all know the Taco Bell down the street just opened up a little bit ago, right? Okay, so I'm not a big Taco Bell guy, hot take, but I was like, brand new one opened up. I want to go see the shiny new building. I'm going to get some tacos. I might try to meet the workers there because they're right down the street from the church. We're going to be there all the time. And so I go down to the Taco Bell with a few friends, a few coworkers, roll up. We get out the car, we go inside. I'm like, ooh, this is going to be some good Taco Bell from a fresh Taco Bell. It's got to be good, right? We walk inside, dead silence. Absolutely nothing. No one talking. No one said anything, just silence. And I was like, all right, well, I'm hungry, so I'm going to go up to the counter to order some food. And so I walk up to the counter, and I just stand there. And no one notices me. And I'm like, bro, I just want to order some tacos. And I'm just standing there. And these guys are back there making tacos, doing their thing, and no one looks up at me and no one says anything. And you said, because you're invisible, I literally started having the thought of like, am I on a prank show? Are they blind? Am I invisible? Do I need to like scream out to them? What's going on? And finally, about 5 minutes has passed. I'm standing at this counter. This guy like appears out of the abyss of taco making and just walks out. And I'm like, yes, I can order some tacos. And instead, he walks up to the counter about 3 feet to the right of me, plops a tray down, says, I don't know what the guy's name was, Bill, your order's up, and then just like walks to the back again. And I was like, are you kidding? I've been standing here for 5 minutes. I want tacos, bro. And he just disappeared again. So this time I was like, I'm gonna get this guy's attention. I don't usually do that, but I've been waiting long enough. I was like, I am getting some tacos. And this guy kind of reappears again with another tray of food that he's gonna toss out. And I said, hey, bro, you think I could get some tacos? Like, just trying to order some tacos. I kid you not. The guy didn't look at me, didn't make eye contact. He just said, gotta use the screen. Tossed his tray and went to the back. And I was like, what is this? Like, I came to meet people. I came to get tacos and no one is giving me any attention. No one's waiting on me. No one said hello. Am I not supposed to be here? But I'm hungry, so I type my order in on the screen, sit down, and about 5 minutes later, he tosses my tray out there, says, Miles, and that was it. That was the only interaction I had with a person in that Taco Bell, but the food was good. And I will say, I've been back since and learned that they just don't, like, put anyone to work at the front of this one. If you go inside, it's only online. Okay, so that was maybe a little bit on me. I just go through the drive-thru now because I want to talk to people. But, man, I ate my tacos, and when I went to the car, I literally sat there for a minute, and I was like, I don't think they wanted me there. I don't know if I was supposed to be there. Like, I wanted to hand this guy money for a taco, and he was like, gotta use the screen, and just walked off, and I was like, I don't think I was supposed to be there. They made me feel like I was in the wrong, like I was in the wrong place. All of you guys have experienced something similar at school, at work, at whatever it is. You guys have experienced, maybe it's a restaurant like mine where you're like, bro, am I ever gonna get any service? Can you see me? You've experienced that lack of greeting, that lack of, hey, I see you and I acknowledge you, and I'm gonna speak to you. But on the other hand, you can also think of, if you can think of the bad examples, you can also usually think of the good examples. And I can also think of, I'm sure you guys can too, people or places where I'm like, man, I love being around them because when I see them, they're gonna smile at me huge. They're gonna run up. I'm gonna get a big hug. They're gonna be like, I am so glad that you are here. And I'm just gonna feel like, man, I am the only person in the world that they wanted to see. You guys, have you ever felt that before? You know what I'm talking about? A family member, a friend. Okay, mine is La Paloma, another Mexican place. I got a little bit of a theme going here. Another Mexican place. Man, La Paloma, if Emma and I go out to eat, 90% chance we are at La Paloma. Here's why. Number one, the Michelle special can't be beat. It's like fajitas with cheese on top of it and rice and like chips to scoop it up. Delicious. Reason number two, and the bigger reason. Every single time I walk into that La Paloma, I know one of the hosts. And they're like, man, I'm so glad you're here. It's good to see you. And I'm like, man, I miss you. It's good to see you too. I really missed the Michelle special too. And they're like, don't worry, we can get that out for you. And then the waiter comes up. I know the waiter. I know the waiter's name. The waiter knows my kid and is like, man, Oliver's growing up a lot. And by the time I'm done eating, not only did I have some good food, but I'm like, man, I got to hang out with people who wanted to see me, who wanted to know me, who remembered things about me, and it's a completely different experience. Now, we can tell funny stories about Mexican food, but that is exactly what Peter and Paul are speaking to when they talk about this greeting of love, this holy greeting, a purposeful greeting to show someone who Christ is. He says, hey, don't let the people that you come across in life walk away feeling like, oh, they didn't want to see me. Wow, I was an inconvenience to them. Wow, I feel like I was a waste of time to them. When Paul and Peter are like, hey, you could take every interaction and show someone that you love them, you see them, you care for them, you can make them feel welcome. And why wouldn't you do that? And so we see that, yeah, they word it as a holy kiss and a kiss of love. And it's funny to laugh at. But you and I greet each other every day, and they're saying, hey, be purposeful about using the way that you greet people to show people who Jesus is. And I'm like, man, why is that a reminder in there, though? Why is that something that they focus on so many times and there's repetition? And here's what I found is that I truly believe that Peter and Paul give this reminder of making sure that you are greeting people well, because that's exactly how Jesus lived his life. Because that's exactly what Jesus did. And it's a reminder for us to do the same. See, because here's the thing is when I walk into a taco shop, what I want more than anything is for the Taco Bell guy to see me and to be like, hey, bro, how's it going? Here's some tacos. And I want him to make me feel welcomed and loved and wanted, because that's just what we like. It's easy. But on the other hand, it's going to take some effort and energy for me to walk into the taco shop and be like, man, I'm going to make sure that that guy making my taco knows that I love him. That sounds a little weird, right? I'm going to make sure that the guy making my taco really feels welcomed by my presence. But that's what Peter and Paul are pointing to, because that's exactly what Jesus did. See, we like to be seen, but Jesus sought to see people. Jesus didn't want to be seen. He wasn't out for the notoriety, the popularity, the fame, the fortune. No, Jesus' mission was to find people and see them and love them and spend time with them. That's why we get that reminder. Jesus' goal was to see, not to be seen. And so tonight, I just want to run through a quick story. You guys have probably heard this story. It's in the book of Luke, chapter 19. We're going to look at a story. It's a famous one. It's called Jesus and Zacchaeus. Jesus and Zacchaeus, just 10 verses. But here's what I want you to focus on out of this passage. I want you to focus on the way Jesus turns the focus from on himself. He turns it away and puts his focus on someone who needs to be welcomed and loved and seen. Let's look at this. Starting in verse 1, it says, Jesus entered Jericho and made his way through the town. There was a man there named Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector in the region, and he had become very rich. Now, we need to pause right there for just a second and talk about Zacchaeus, because he is the chief tax collector who's become very rich. Here's what you need to know. Zacchaeus' job comes from Rome, okay? The Roman Empire is hiring tax collectors. They said, Zacchaeus, you're going to be the tax collector for the city of Jericho, the chief one. But Zacchaeus is from Jericho. And so his job, literally the Empire of Rome has said, your job is to go around to your friends and your family members and all of the business people in town and take their money for us. I need you to go do that, okay? But then we need to focus in a little bit more, because it says that not only is he the chief tax collector, so he's taking money from his friends and family and the people around him and giving it to Rome, but Rome also tells him, hey, I expect you to go and get X amount of taxes. They give him a number, let's say $100,000 of taxes. Go get $100,000 of taxes from these, 100,000 people. But if you can get $200,000, you get to keep the difference. We don't care how you do it. We don't care. We just want what we feel like we're owed. Anything extra that you can get, you get to keep. And so when we see that Zacchaeus is a very rich tax collector, he's a man who is going around to friends and family members and all of the people of his city, and he's saying, hey, you owe Rome some taxes. And what he's doing is upping those charges and slipping the difference in his pocket. He's stealing from the people around him, and everyone around him knows this. He would be one of the most hated, despised people in the town. They would view him as a traitor. And this is who we see in our story. We pick back up in verse 3. It says, this is Zacchaeus, he tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was too short to see over the crowd. Okay, we got to stop there again. Because first of all, this dude is short. If you know the story before, or there's even a song to it, this guy's short. We don't know how short, but short enough he can't see over full-grown adults. But here's the other part we got to focus on, is that there is a crowd. There are people who have heard of this Jesus guy, know Jesus is coming, and want to go see Jesus. That's what they're there for. They're there to go see Jesus, see what this guy's about. And so Zacchaeus is like, I've heard of this guy as well. I'll peek my head out. I'll go see what's going on. But he's a short little guy. He can't see Jesus coming through. And so he comes up with a plan. In verse 4, it says, so he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree beside the road, for Jesus was going to pass that way. So he's like, man, I'm short, but I want to see what's going on with this guy that I've heard about. So I'm going to run up the road a little bit, climb a tree, and get my view, okay? In comes Jesus, verse 5. When Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. When Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. Zacchaeus, he said, quick, come down. I must be a guest in your home today. Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and took Jesus to his house in great excitement and joy. But the people, this is the crowds, but the people were displeased. He is gone to be the guest of a notorious sinner, they grumbled. These people hated Zacchaeus. Verse 8, it says, meanwhile, Zacchaeus stood before the Lord and said, I will give half my wealth to the poor, Lord. And if I have cheated people on their taxes, I will give them back 4 times as much. Listen to these last 2 verses. Jesus responded, salvation has come to this house today, for this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save those who are lost. That story blows my mind because that is so different from what culture teaches us and culture shows us. We have so many people who want to be an influencer, or they just want to be famous for anything, and they want people to look at them and cheer them on and fill in the blank. And Jesus has that on accident because he's been performing miracles and people are talking about it. And now these people are like, man, I gotta go see this Jesus guy. I gotta go see Jesus. He has the fame and the popularity literally on accident. And he's like, I don't want it. That's not what I'm about. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not here for you to see me and cheer me on. I'm here to see who's hurt, to see who needs help, to see who needs to be loved, to see who needs to be welcomed. That's my purpose. That's what I'm here for. And that is what Peter and Paul are calling us to see. Our second point of the night is that we should see people the way Jesus saw people. We should see people the way Jesus saw people. See, because first of all, Jesus surpasses the huge crowd. All of these people want to spend time around Jesus, with Jesus, telling Jesus how great he is, maybe getting Jesus to do a quick miracle for him, like fill in the blank. There's so many people. But Jesus realizes, man, my time here on earth isn't about fame, fortune, popularity. That's not why I'm here. I came to seek and save the lost. I need to find who's broken, who's hurting, who needs some love, and I'm gonna go see them. I don't want people to see me. I'm gonna go see them. And that should be our mission. That should be our heart. When we walk into a room, it shouldn't be, hey, look at me. Hey, I made it. Hey, I've arrived. Do you see that I'm here? I want you to tell me how great I am. Jesus says, no, that doesn't matter. What it should be is, man, I walked into a room. I noticed you're over here by yourself. Can I sit with you? Hey, I've never seen you here before. What's your name? And that is where we see, man, a kiss of love, a holy kiss. It's not actually a kiss. What it actually is seeing people, loving people, greeting them in a way that Christ would greet them as well. We also see that Jesus spent time with a sinner. Jesus spent time with like the guy everyone else hated. Like if they would have had to pick who they thought Jesus would spend time with, he would have been dead last on the list. Everyone hated this man, but Jesus comes in and says, you're the guy. You're the guy. Can we go to your house? Can we spend some time together? Jesus seeks out the sinner, seeks out the hurting and broken person. Why? Because Jesus is seeking to bring healing and bring change. And while you and I cannot save someone, what you and I can do is show people the love of Christ and tell them who Jesus is and what Jesus has done for them, and watch as God changes their life. You and I should seek to see people the way that Jesus saw people. And then our last point is this, is that Jesus sees you right now. All you have to do is let him in. What I want to do is look back. It says at verse 5, it says, when Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. Zacchaeus, he said, quick, come down. I must be a guest in your home today. Here's the thing. Jesus came in, saw him, called him by name, and then gave him an option. Said, hey, could I come to your house today? You know what Jesus easily could have done? Zacchaeus, get down here right now. I'm going in your house. There's nothing you can do to stop me. I'm the Son of God. That's not what he did. He said, hey, Zacchaeus, short little guy who's hated by everyone. I see you. I know who you are. I love you. Would you let me come spend some time with you? Would you let me into your house? Would you let me into your life? All you got to do is say yes. You can say no. There's a whole crowd of people that I'm sure would love to spend time with me, but I'm here for you. Would you say yes? And what we see is that Zacchaeus, the guy who up to this point has done everything wrong that he could do in his life. No one likes him. No one wants him. Like, I'm sure there would people that would probably kill him if they could do it and get away with it. No one wanted this man around. But Jesus saw him, and Jesus gave him an opportunity and said, hey, can I come spend some time with you? And we see that as soon as Zacchaeus says, yeah, come on, Jesus, let's go, and brings him into the house, what comes with that is some heart change. See, Zacchaeus didn't clean himself up first. He didn't say, I'm going to give all my tax money back first. I'm going to get all these people to like me again, and then I'll bring Jesus in. He said, man, these people hate me. But this Jesus guy, he sees me, and I think he might be able to help. And he says, yeah, Jesus, come on in. Come spend some time with me. Come hang out. And within the next 2 verses, it says Zacchaeus looks at the Lord and says, I'm going to give every bit of the money back that I've wronged people 4 times over. And whatever's left, I'm going to take half and give it to the poor people. I am so sorry. And we see that heart change starts to happen and his life starts to get cleaned up little by little, but it's only after he says yes to the invitation that Jesus has extended to come over and spend some time together. Tonight, Jesus is extending that invitation to you as well. Did you know that Jesus knows you by name? Did you know that Jesus loves you? Did you know that Jesus died on a cross to pay for your sins and wants more than anything to have a relationship with you? And he's extending the offer. He says, man, could I come over? Hey, would you let me into your life? And I see that these people hate you. I see you messed up. I see you've done wrong. And you can't fix that. But I can. I can come in. I can help. I can save you from your sins. I can help you along in repairing the damage that is done in the healing process. I can. Would you let me in? I love verse 10. It says, for the Son of Man came to seek and save those who are lost. Man, Jesus did not want to be seen and noticed and famous. He came to see those who are hurt and broken and lost and to love them and to say, man, would you let me in? Would you let me into your life? Could we start a relationship? And what we see is immediately in the life of Zacchaeus, it says, man, this guy has found salvation. That's it. All he had to do was say, yeah, Jesus, come on in. I'm open to it. You know who I am. You know I've messed up, but I'm open to it. Come on in. And immediately, Zacchaeus found salvation. If you guys would bow your heads and close your eyes, I just want to ask you tonight, man, maybe you walked in here and you don't have a relationship with Jesus, you're not even sure necessarily what that means, man. Maybe you walked in here and you're like Zacchaeus. You're like, man, I feel like things are going wrong in my life. Like there's a ton of sin. People don't see me. People don't love me. Fill in the blank, man. Maybe that's you tonight. Or maybe you walked in here like Zacchaeus in a different way. See, here's what I love is that Zacchaeus only came to watch Jesus pass by. Zacchaeus initially only came to see what was going on, to see what everyone else was so excited about. He said, man, I've heard of this guy. I don't know what's up with it. I don't understand it, but there's a crowd, so I'm going to go see what it is. And his plan was to climb up a tree and just watch as Jesus strolled on by. But Jesus had another plan. He wanted a personal relationship with Zacchaeus. And tonight, that is what Jesus wants with you, man. Maybe you've been in church 100 times, or maybe this is your first time, but you've been coming and you've been like, man, I just am here to see what the craze is all about. I'm just here to see why my friend shows up every night at 6:30 on a Wednesday, every Wednesday night. I don't get it. Every Sunday morning he wakes up early to go to church. I don't get it. So I'm going to come see what this Jesus guy is all about. But you haven't started a relationship with him yet. Man, Jesus is inviting you tonight. Jesus is saying, man, would you let me in? I want to bring salvation into your life. I want to save you. I've already died for your sins. Would you let me into your life? I know it's messed up and I know it's broken, but would you let me in? Man, maybe you're here tonight and you've never done that before, but tonight you realize, man, I've been watching from the outsides. I've messed up, I've sinned, and I've tried to clean it up and it doesn't work. But tonight, I want to give my life to Christ. I want to start a relationship with Jesus. I want to read you this, Romans chapter 10, verses 9 and 8. It says, if you openly declare that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you'll be saved. For it is by believing in your heart that you are made right with God, and it is by openly declaring your faith that you are saved. It's that easy. Jesus says, man, I want to have a relationship with you. All you have to do is believe. All you have to do is say yes. Man, if that's you and for the first time tonight, you're like, I want to start a relationship with Jesus. I've never done that before, but tonight, I want Jesus to come into my life. I want Jesus to change me. If that's you, would you raise your hand? In a moment of boldness, would you raise your hand and say, man, that's me. I've never started a relationship with Christ, but tonight I'm choosing to let him in. Thank you. Man, if that was you and you raised your hand, then would you just pray something like this along with me? And it's not about the exact words. Like Romans says, it's about the position of your heart. It's about, man, I believe that Jesus died on the cross to pay for my sins. I'm starting a relationship with him. Would you pray something like this? God, I've sinned. I know I'm a sinner. I'm broken. And God, I can't clean myself up. But God, I know that you want a relationship with me. And so tonight, I'm saying yes. Tonight, I want to start that relationship with you.